What's up, Taiwan? I'm Yvonne with 10 minutes of news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Debate has been swirling this week about reopening the so-called mini-3 links between China and Taiwan's offshore islands of Mazu and Jinmen. Ryan Kilpatrick has more.
Nearly 3 years since most ties of China were severed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The ferries that once shuttled between the Chinese city of Xiamen and Taiwan's offshore Jinmen Islands bob idly at their moorings. The sea breeze brushing past shuttered shop fronts and hushed streets.
这几年通通没有大陆客来，那就是表示说我这几年的相关的产业链，包含旅馆这些相关的产业，通通是零。通通是零的话呢，就表示我损失，我们金门的损失大概有60几亿了。
Calls to reopen the so-called free mini links are growing. These are the routes connecting Jinmen to Quanzhou and Xiamen, which lies just half an hour away by ferry, as well as the Mazu Islands to the north and the nearby Chinese city of Fuzhou. The free links refers to the three types of connections: postal, transportation, and trade. They're mini since they link up Taiwan's offshore counties rather than the main island. They started in 2001 as China's economy opened to the world and Taiwanese investment. Opposition Kuomintang lawmaker Chen Yuzhen, who represents Jinmen in Taiwan's legislature, traveled to Xiamen earlier this week to discuss reopening with Chinese authorities. Deputy Health Minister Victor Wong is in Jinmen to inspect disease prevention measures ahead of reopening the links. A new obstacle is China's abrupt reversal of COVID policy, which is expected to result in a wave of new infections this winter.
预期是有一波很大的流行会起来。那离岛的医疗资源相对是比较小的。
Due to these vulnerabilities, Taiwan's health authority says it will monitor the situation in China ahead of any reopening. Back in Taipei, Premier Su Zhantang has defended remarks saying Chinese visitors might snatch up COVID medicine at the expense of Taiwanese. The opposition has called the suggestion inhumane.
2020年疫情刚起，台湾口罩缺乏的时候，我们禁止口罩出口，也被同样的那几张嘴骂说没人道。中国疫情不公开不透明，我们也要警觉在先。
While much of the world has already resumed travel as usual, the future of cross-strait exchanges remains uncertain. The reopening of the free mini-links could become a test of a frayed relationship. But before then, it will be a test of confidence in China's belated reopening strategy. Ryan Kilpatrick for TaiwanPlus.
President Tsai has met with members of a top U.S. political think tank. The delegation from the Center for Strategy and International Studies is the first to visit Taiwan since the COVID pandemic began. The group is here to learn about the challenges facing the country and to discuss how to respond to them through bilateral cooperation. At their meeting, Tsai said she hopes U.S.-Taiwan trade ties can be strengthened under a new initiative launched in June. The second meeting under the framework may be held in Taiwan before January's Lunar New Year holiday. A Taiwanese pastry known as the pineapple cake could soon become the latest Taiwanese product barred from the Chinese market. Jiade, a well-known Taipei shop that exports the cakes, says it won't comply with Chinese requests for more information about its factory and recipes. The requests are now part of a new registration procedure China now requires companies to go through to gain access to its market. The firm says its focus will stay on Taiwanese consumers. Close to 2,000 Taiwanese companies have been shut out of the China market this year after Beijing either rejected or failed to process registration paperwork. Recently blocked products include seafood, liquor, and beer. After Taiwanese chip giant TSMC announced plans to build a second factory in America, U.S. President Joe Biden hailed the move as game changer. The move is part of U.S. efforts to bring semiconductors production home. But as Jim Chater reports, Washington is not the only one with this goal.
Taiwanese semiconductor giant TSMC is building a second factory in the U.S. state of Arizona.
They'll construct a second fab here in Phoenix to build chips, 3 nano chips, the 3 nano chips.
And despite struggling with the jargon, US President Joe Biden says the $40 billion investment in chips, the brains of most modern devices, is a big win.
These investments are helping us build and strengthen the supply chain here in America.
TSMC's move came after Washington passed a new law, the CHIPS Act, in July, which earmarks $52 billion for boosting domestic production of microchips. It comes as the already tense tech rivalry between the US and China heats up.
This is a bad day for President Xi and the Chinese Communist Party, and the potential they would have of cutting off our access to advanced semiconductors.
For governments around the world, pandemic-era shortages of the most advanced chips, 90% of which are made by TSMC, was a wake-up call.
所以各国就发现到，有的半导体对产业不断链是这么的重要。
Governments now say a stable chip supply is an issue of national security, and that's left them scrambling to fund domestic chip making and reduce their reliance on Taiwan, even if it's costly. Apart from setting aside some $52 billion for chip development, the CHIPS Act also provides a 25% tax credit for investment in manufacturing equipment. Japan has approved 774 billion yen for domestic chip investment, with grants of up to 50% of capital expenditure. And South Korea, home to TSMC's main rival Samsung, has promised $450 billion in chip investment over the next decade, with tax breaks of up to 40% for chip development. But in Taiwan, there are fears this trend will create cracks in the country's silicon shield. That's the idea that the country's world-leading chip industry would deter Beijing from attacking Taiwan, which China claims as part of its territory. In response, Taiwan passed legislation in November that's been called its own version of the CHIPS Act. It will provide companies in research and development tax credits of up to 25% for investment in innovation and 5% for investment in advanced chip-making equipment. Critics say the act will only help giant firms like TSMC, but there are those who feel Taiwan's position at the top of the chip supply chain is secure.
It's going to be very hard for U.S. to build a fab business overnight. So the worry that TSMC would be stolen overnight would be a little bit far-fetched.
The production of advanced chips at home is a costly business, but for many governments, it's worth the price in exchange for national security. Ricky and James Chater for TaiwanPlus.
Around 300 Taiwanese nationals may still be trapped abroad after falling victim to scammers. That's according to Taiwan's foreign ministry. It comes after a month-long push to repatriate people lured to Cambodia and other Southeast Asian countries by high-paying but fake job offers. They were then trapped and forced to work for criminal gangs involving underground gambling and telecoms fraud. Taiwanese officials are warning people to stay vigilant as countries further ease COVID restrictions and travel becomes easier.
不要落入高薪利诱的工作陷阱尤其现在农历年快要到了不要被朋友一揪呢就去那些国家，也不先了解清楚去的目的是什么，因为我们发现以往有一些案例呢都是被自己身边的亲友所出卖的，所以我想出国求职或者出国旅游还是务必要小心谨慎。
A rebuilt bridge at a fishing port in northeastern Taiwan is getting ready to reopen to motorists. The original Nanfang'ao bridge collapsed in 2019, killing 6 people. It had been weakened by the typhoon and an earthquake. After almost 2.5 years of construction, the new bridge is set to open to traffic on Sunday. There are still questions over who will maintain the new bridge. Neither the local government nor the Nanfang'ao Harbor Management Company want the responsibility. This is significant, as the lack of maintenance was the main reason the first bridge collapsed. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally today, we'll leave you with images of window and street displays in New York as the city celebrates the holiday season. I'm Yvonne Young. Take care and see you next time.